you're always going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's always worked out for you. It's always going to work out for you in the end. There's never been a situation that you haven't been able to get out of. And you've overcome worse before. So what do you have to lose? You've got nothing to lose. Some say you have to choose between being the perfect professional woman or being the bad girl. But we're here to tell you, you can be both. I'm Rachana Patel.
And I'm Ebony Lukovitz. And this is A Bad Girl's Guide to Business, a podcast for bad bitches who want to create lives they love and incredible businesses. Hi, baddies. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite topics, and that is Miss Rachana Patel.
I love you.
I love you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you, honey.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we can start wherever, but take me back to the beginning. Tell the listeners a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm Rachana Patel. And so obviously, or maybe not so obviously, I'm Indian.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's brown.
So
I'm
brown.
white.
Yes.
Although my name is Ebony.
And I always
Ebony's
love that.
the white one.
Yes, Ebony is. I'm the brown one. And so, I'm a child of immigrant parents, right? And for those of you baddies who are the children of immigrant parents, there's certain pressures that get put on you. So my family is Indian, but they are from Tanzania. So, I grew up with a very pushy mum. And now, 32 years later, I look at it with a lot of gratefulness. I'm very, very happy that she sent me to 16 school activities a week and kept pushing me and doing all of these things. However, my childhood too was very chaotic. I was born and raised in New York. I realized I'd moved 5 times from New York when I was born to living in London when I was 9. My dad would live with us for some parts and wouldn't live with us for other parts. And there was, just a lot of volatility and a lot of instability. When you kind of look back on it, you're like, wow, there was a lot of instability in that. But what it did allow me to do was be very self-reliant and learn how to create structure when there is chaos. And that has really underpinned everything that I've done. My parents, naturally being immigrant parents, have had very high expectations of me. I don't know if the environment was always conducive to peace and structure, but it was like, like I said, the high expectations, loads of school activities. I remember my dad, we were watching the news, we were watching BBC one day, and he was like, I remember this so vividly, the CEO of Tesco, which is like a big supermarket for the people that know it in the UK. He was the CEO of Tesco was talking, and my dad just looked at me and he was like, Rachana, I want you to be a CEO one day. And I was like, oh, Daddy, what's that? And he was like, it's a chief executive officer. And I was like, how do you do that? He said, I don't know. You have to run a company. I don't know. You have to run a company. That was it. And now look at me.
You're running a company.
I'm running a company.
Daddy, she's a CEO.
She made it. She did it. But it just kind of speaks to how high the expectations were and how much kind of just do it, just figure it out. It wasn't, this is the path you go down. This is exactly what you have to do. You had to just figure it out. And without getting into details, kind of the nitty gritty of it, it was chaotic and it was volatile. And as a child, and I am an only child, you are very much on your own doing everything. And so there's no sibling to be like, hey, this situation is a little bit shitty, or, oh, why is this happening at home? You just have to kind of self-reflect and figure it out on your own. So I've worked since I was 16. My very first job was as a lifeguard. And ever since then, I trained as a swimming teacher. I did all of the things. And then, I got my undergrad and I went straight into business school. And I went to business school for something very specific. So just stay with me here. I wanted to become a marine underwriter. So for those of you that don't know what that is, you basically underwrite millions, billions dollars worth of risk for oil or fine art, whatever is being transported
Marine.
I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And why did I want to do that though, right?
Marine as well. It's so specific.
Okay. So here's the thing. One of my very, very best friends who I've known for 20 years, I was, in her wedding and everything. I was like joint maid of honor with my other best friend at the wedding. Yeah. No, it's all about you, baby. Don't worry. But she was on an amazing graduate scheme with Lloyd's of London, and I had finished my undergrad and she was kind of 1 year ahead of me. And I was like, yeah, this insurance industry, it seems really social. It seems social and it seems like I can make a lot of money in it.
The insurance industry.
Oh, yeah. It's like multi-billion, trillion. I mean, it's huge. I think about everything you do. Everything has to be underwritten, right? With risk. So anyway, those were the two things I was really looking for. Money and to be social. I'm a very social person and I am very money motivated and driven. So I was like, okay, this seems like a great path to go down. And so I got into it and I was really successful in it. I got my master's within 1 year. I was like, I'm not doing it over 2. I'm going to work really hard, get it done in 1. Yeah, I was like, let's just do it. And I was working part-time as a swimming teacher on like Friday nights, Sunday morning. Social life was out. It was a tough year, but I was like, I'm going to do this. Now, you end up graduating around September time. You graduate, I think, like a couple of months after that. So I went to go visit my grandparents in New York. And I needed a job in the interim after I graduated. Because when I was thinking about starting the whole underwriting kind of career, that would have been the September after, right? So I was like, okay, what am I going to do for these 6 months? And I applied randomly for this online job, this like, what was it? It was like an interview thing that you go to. And you go into the big assessment day and you do presentations. It's like 60 of you in a room. Then at the end, people are like, okay, you've got a job. I'm like, I've got a job? What job is this? I don't even know what I've got myself into. I'm like there with like 60 people for the day, whatever. They take us out for wine after, whoever has got a job. The rest of them are like, go home.
This sounds like a very interesting job interview process.
I mean, it's sales, baby.
Yeah, there we go.
I didn't even really know what I was doing. So I get in and then they send you to some interviews. And I remember I went for an interview. I think it was like December 2nd or something of like 2014, I think. Yeah, it was like right in the beginning. And I went in for the interview and they wouldn't do this now because like HR and stuff. But I went through the interview and at the end, the managing director was like, you're hired. You start on Monday. And I was like, amazing. And he was like, what are you going to go to celebrate? I was like, I'm just going to go out for a Chinese with my uni girls, drink some wine. I mean, thanks for the job. And so I started the job on Monday. And it was the best time. That company that I was working for was so fun. I was making really good money and I was around really good people. We'd go out all the time.
How old were you?
We'd party all the time. I think I was maybe like 22.
Wow.
I was super young. But when I first went in, I was working just with guys. I was working with white males. And when I walked in, they didn't warm to me at first. And I was really good at what I did. All I had to do was cold call. I would do 120 cold calls before 11 a.m.
Crazy.
They changed the commission structure because it was based on activity. And my activity was so high. They were like, okay, we can't do this anymore.
She's going to make us go broke.
Like, we can't do this anymore. So then it's they changed it to opportunity creation and stuff. And, we can talk about this later in our
we will.
Our following, podcast episodes about sales and all of that format. But yeah, I mean, it was a great career, great trajectory. And I crushed it. And eventually I became friends with all of the boys.
What was it like for you being a young Indian woman in a really male, predominantly white industry? And what did you take from that experience?
That's a great question. Naturally you look different and you're a different gender, right? So there's a difference, but I never let it affect me. I never was like, oh my God, well, I'm a woman and, everyone is a different race than me. How, like, are people going to look at me differently or whatever? I knew it was a given. So when it's a given, you operate with a little bit more force, a tiny bit more aggression and a lot more drive. So yeah, you realize it's different, but you kind of just keep it pushing.
I respect you so much. And I also learned so much from you and your partner, Michael, which we'll get into, you know, as your experience of a woman in color in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why I'm really glad that we're doing this podcast together, because I think people can learn so much from your experience. And I think you're an inspiration.
Thank you.
But let's talk about your transition to New York.
Yeah.
And, you know, you deciding to leave your great little life in London, met a man who turned your world upside down. But I know that there was also another man in the mix. So tell us about the next chapter of your life and what happens in your mid to late 20s.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a great question, and it's a pivotal part of my life. I always say the most pivotal years of my life were when I turned 26 and when I turned 31.
Saturn returns, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
big time for women.
Absolutely.
Late 20s, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of going back to my very first interview, I remember my manager was like, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I just kind of off the cuff comment, I see myself working in New York. I was like, great. You know, because you had to kind of give those like interview responses.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew, I was like, I'm going to get paid more in New York than I would in London. So I was like, I need to think about that. And that's exactly what happened. Around year 5 of my career, that was when my partner and I of 6 years were breaking up. We called the wedding off
You were
2 months
engaged.
before. Yeah. Called the wedding off 2 months before. It was the best thing I think the both of us did. You know, we just weren't compatible anymore. We got together very, very young. And so when I had decided that, I had planned a trip every month. I was going to Ibiza. I was going to Colombia. I was going to New York. I was like, I'm single. This is going to be amazing. And lo and behold, you know, within that year, I'd booked a trip to New York. And that's where I met my partner on a night out. So I was still doing all my traveling. You know, we'd go back and forth, see each other.
You guys did long distance for a while, right?
We did, yeah. We did long distance for about 8-9 months, which was, it was easy. It was actually easy because we're both very independent individuals. And
You're both only children?
Yes, we're both only children too, so we like our space. I will say that during this quick trip to New York, we've had to share a bathroom, and that's nearly been the breaking of our relationship.
Yeah.
Just having to share a bathroom.
Shared bathrooms are
You know,
tough.
we just love our own bathrooms. We love our own space, you know? And so that was really good. And kind of just sidetracking a little bit, what was really good about that long distance relationship was it forced us to really communicate well.
Yeah.
Because we weren't able to keep seeing each other. You had to speak on the phone. So that was a really good lesson for us there. But yeah, kind of, you know, I was maybe 6 to 7 months into kind of like dating. And there was an opportunity for a promotion at work in New York. And I was like, oh, the stars are aligning. Okay, I'm going to go for it. And obviously I got the promotion. And so in December 27th, 2019, I moved. Went to a big upstate 5-day party for New Year's Eve as soon as I got in.
Yeah. I know what party you're talking about. That's a good party.
It was, it was fantastic. And then fast forward a couple of months, we were hit with the pandemic. And that just flipped everything. But yeah, that was my transition into New York. It was, you have to do it. Just take the leap of faith. I'd also bought my own flat, my own apartment in London, like a few months before. So I kind of like set myself up. I have an amazing life in London, amazing friends. My dog is there. My parents are there. My family's there. I was like, listen, if I try New York, great. London is not closing its doors to me. I can just leave. I can just go back. It's going to be fine. And so I come to New York and it all works out. And then the pandemic hits. So I was like, oh, I'm stuck. No going back. But
was it hard for you to make the move to New York City?
No, it wasn't hard for me. I think because when I set my sights on something, I execute. Just like starting this podcast. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. There's no worrying about how I'm going to do it. I just know I'm going to do it. I always have a plan B there. I create a safety net.
I was going to say, like, you know, you charted this incredible career for yourself in a male-dominated industry. You called off an engagement in your, like, 20s, which is no small thing. And then you moved halfway across the world. And you make it look so effortless. But for our listeners who are perhaps wanting to make a similar change or feel like they're stuck, what do you think you could share with them that you've taken from your own journey that has enabled you to take these big risks and blaze your own trail and create these opportunities for yourself?
So if I think about that, I think it's really about believing in yourself. Don't let the doubt seep in. But like I mentioned, have a plan B. And what that plan B looks like isn't like a whole exit strategy. It's just the assurance that you're always going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's always worked out for you, always going to work out for you in the end. There's never been a situation that you haven't been able to get out of, and you've overcome worse before. So what do you have to lose? You've got nothing to lose. Like I gave you the London, New York example. London was not closing its doors to me. If the New York job didn't work, or the relationship didn't work, or I didn't make any friends, I could just go back to my old life in London.
Right.
So take the leap of faith, move to Singapore, move to Australia, go wherever you want, go to Dubai. I don't know. Try it. Just try it for a year. And if you hate it, you can come back.
Come back to your life.
You can come back.
That's the thing as well. I was like, with my move to New York City, I was like, okay, so the worst thing that happens is they have to move back to Australia.
Right.
And have an incredible career as a journalist in Australia. Or
Boo-hoo.
Or like even just starting my own business. It was like, okay, this doesn't work out. I just go back to having a stable 9-to-5 job, and that's fine.
That's fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fine. That's the worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. And that's actually kind of what I felt about like when I started my business.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, because my experience was a little bit
into it.
Yeah, my experience was actually a little bit different to yours. And what I have so much love and respect for you about is you went and you didn't look back. Right?
I'm like that though.
You
I'll like burn a bridge and be like, we're never coming.
I think it's amazing. And I think it takes a lot of guts. I think it's phenomenal. So as we spoke about in the first episode, what really kickstarted my business was you hiring me first, right? You hired me first, and then I got my second client, got my third client. Now I have 8 clients, and I'm switching business models and doing all the things.
She is busy.
She's busy. She's busy, but she's efficient,
She really is. I've never, apart from my business partner, I've never met anyone who works as hard as you.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm serious.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know that, but thank you.
Yeah.
And I think what was hard for me is that, you mentioned you were like, I didn't like the company I was working with, right?
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to love corporate. I'm actually kind of like a corporate girly. I'm like office politics, yes.
She
Happy
loves the
hour,
water cooler.
yes. Cute little outfit, yes. Everything, yes. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
There was nothing about it that I didn't love. However, I recognize that there's a ceiling. There's, X amount that you can make each month. And I was making really good money. But there's X amount that you can make each month. You're in and you're out. What was great about corporate is that, you go on holiday, you have a manager to kind of like at least oversee your emails and stuff.
I'm about to go on vacation for a week and I'm like,
who's going to do it? No one, you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, and kind of working in sales and stuff, you manage your own book of business, and at the end of the day, your deal is your deal, and you run your own kind of business within a huge organization, but you still have that support, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was helping, I was managing people, I was building teams that were doing all of these things, but I knew I needed more. I knew I had to push myself. I knew I had to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that was that kind of like pushing force with it. But I'll tell you, the past year that I've had my business, there have been so many times where I've been like, do I just stick with corporate?
Yeah.
Or do I go all in on Zekari Consulting? Do I do both? Maybe I can do both.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, good Lord, I cannot do both. I'm already working 15, 16 hours, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way you can do both. You have to pick one or the other. And you taught me that.
You nearly, though, I remember there was a moment where you were going to walk away from Zekari and you were going to
just stick to corporate.
And so tell us a little bit more about that and why you decided to keep going with Zekari.
I feel so bad. I feel like I was trying to abandon my child. But it's the revenue wasn't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm used to, 5-figure paychecks twice a month. Do you get paid twice a month in America? That was nice. That doesn't happen in London. Once a month. Yeah, your paycheck comes once a month in London at the end of the month. Yeah.
How do you make that work?
It's just bigger. It's just bigger, but you have to learn to budget, right?
Oh.
So it just comes once a month. But in,
Oh my God.
yes. And then here you get paid twice a month. So I was used to great paychecks and, you know, you're making big commission checks.
Yeah.
And my commission checks were coming every month. So I was like, this is great. I used to be able to leverage a lot of debt because I'd get really big paychecks at the end of the quarter. And, you know, for anyone that knows me, I like nice things.
She likes
Handbags, shoes, holidays.
She's got good taste.
Dinners, wine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, excuse me, I have to budget?
Back to slumming it, baby.
I can't buy this, or I can't do this, or I can't gift people these things or help people, you know, I can't do these things. And that's why I was like, I better stick to corporate. I like those. But then I had to realize I had to look at the bigger picture. And it was through conversations with you, through conversations with my partner, through other conversations with other entrepreneurs, where I realized like, no, this is like a sacrifice and a moment you have to have in time. And it actually changed my relationship with money. It changed how I look at things. It changed how I invest. And it's been an eye-opening experience. And now I would never go back. I'm like, no, I'm good. But yeah, you do get addicted to the consistency of revenue. But what it forced me to do was change my business model and add and create an additional business model to allow for consistent revenue, which we can probably talk about in another episode.
We are going to talk all about making money in sales and all of that stuff, because you are just the queen of growing a business, navigating great deals, taking care of clients and customers, all those really important things, which I know that the baddies are going to be really interested in. So this is everything that we have, I think, for you today. Rach, if you were going to take us through, like, what are your big takeaways here? You know, you've shared so many really incredible things from your story, and I'd love to know, what your takeaways are from this crazy journey you're on.
Of course. So number one is don't compare yourself to others. You know, look at other people as inspiration, but do not focus on what other people are doing. Being on a sales floor is a very good example of that, because when I got my first job, you know, you have like, you know, like this kind of sales leaderboard or whatever. I was like, I was never interested in who was above me, below me, whatever. I knew I was going to be on top. So like, I'm good. I was always going to hit President's Club. I was always going to do all of those things. But you shouldn't be concerned by what other people are doing, because what they're doing does not affect your paycheck at the end of the day. So do not compare yourself to others. And that pertains to relationships, family, business, everything. Just stay in your lane and continue to drive forward. The second thing is always set your sights on what you want. Follow your heart and really make space for your dreams by letting go of what's not serving you. Comfort is always a big, big killer.
Oh my God, yeah.
And, you know, both of us, right? We could have stayed in those relationships, stayed in London, stayed in Australia. Okay, we're going to do the cookie cutter lifestyle. Or you take a big leap of faith and you, funnily enough, we both ended up moving to New York at different times and you just, you know, we both fell in love. And, you know, we're now with partners who are very supportive of our journeys, which is an added benefit. But regardless, you know, we have followed our hearts, and that's very important. Don't let comfort kill you. And I would say that the very last thing, which kind of relates to the don't let comfort kind of kill you with things, is take every work experience that you have and apply it to your business. You know, I've been lucky enough to have phenomenal managers I've been able to learn from. There've been odd, strange situations at work, which I've been able to kind of leverage, understand, and bring into my business. So make sure you use everything as a learning opportunity.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think that's it. And I think, you know, in our upcoming episodes, we'll be telling you different things, like how to come up with a business plan, what to do when you're hiring, how to do service exchanges with people, which I actually think is really important. When you're starting a business, sometimes you need to figure out how to do service exchanges, how we learn from people around us. So many good, fun tidbits of information. So we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember to subscribe so you never miss out on a future episode.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.